On this special episode of Supercars Torque, instead of previewing the Adelaide 500, I talk about Holden pulling out altogether and Jack Smith's had a haircut. The big news to shock the world came out yesterday. That's that Holden's decided to pull the pin on, well, General Motors has decided to pull the pin on Holden at the end of the year. That's it. No more Holdens in Australia. The line is shutting shop. So, first things first though, I'm not actually trying a new product today. With all the news that's going on, and I'm filming this later on in the day, so I don't want to be trying any of the energy drinks I've got. So Fireball it is for today. Drown my sorrows with Holden pulling out as well, so it's kind of appropriate. So bottoms up for all the people out there who are, like me, a little bit sad that Holden's pulling out, but I'm honestly not that surprised. So what does this mean for supercars? Well, it's all a bit up in the air at the moment by the sounds of things. We'll see beloved ZB Commodores on the grid for the rest of the year. Holden did just sign late last year a 2-year contract with AAA. So not sure, Roland's probably rubbing his hands together because there's going to be some kind of payout there, I'd imagine. Probably not as good as having the security there, knowing that you've got a manufacturer to back you for the next few years. But he's probably got a little bit more security than everybody but, say, Penske. But yeah, it's not good news for the category. This could mean that the Gen 3 rules are moved forward, or do we just see the ZBs rolling around on the track next year? Like what we saw, the Ultima kept kicking on for a few years after Nissan stopped selling it. The same thing with the Falcon. Although the thing is, both of those manufacturers still selling cars in Australia, whereas Holden is totally out at the end of the year. So why are they doing this? Well, GM's deciding not to do right-hand drive cars anymore. Which, if you have a look, GM, probably their biggest markets would be, the United States and probably China, which are left-hand drive markets. The only right-hand drive markets really in the world are, I think it's only Australia, Japan, and Britain, maybe South Africa as well. I'd have to check on that one. But when you think about it, really, like in GM, have got Holden in Australia, which has been tanking basically since they stopped doing the VF Commodore. The ZB Commodore does not sell like the VF used to, and it doesn't sell that great compared to its competition either. Then you look through the rest of the range, like they got the Colorado, that's Holden's biggest seller, but even, its sales are piss poor compared to, like Hiluxes and Rangers and Amaroks and things like that. And then I'm trying to think what other car, they've got that Equinox thing, which is that big full drive SUV whatever thing. Don't see many of them on the road. I think they might still have an Astra or something, but I'm supposed to be a fan of the brand and I don't even know what cars they've got. So I'm not surprised that they're pulling out. So anyway, GM are pulling out of the right-hand drive market. So then you're looking like Japan. I don't even know if GM sells cars in Japan. I think it's all JDM over there. And then if you look in England, they've got the Vauxhall brand, which I think is in the same kind of position as what Holden is. They're just not selling cars anymore. So it's probably a smart move from GM to pull the pin on the right-hand drive thing, just focus on the left-hand drive. So there's talk that maybe there might be a special division, kind of like what Walkinshaw's doing, where they convert GM vehicles like the Camaro over to right-hand drive here. And just a little thing on this as well that really fucking grates me as well. Could people learn how to pronounce Camaro properly? There's no fucking E in it. It's not a Camaro, It's Camaro, okay? That's just, I'm not a big one for pronunciation, and you know, I'm not the best at it, but that one really grates me, all right? You can, like, with your Formula 1 and that, you can have Vettel or Fettel or whatever, you know, kind of thing. That stuff, or Botas and Bottas, don't give a shit, but just learn Camaro, no E. Okay, rant over on that. Now, Roland Dane's come out and he's blaming it on the fans because the fans all, you know, wear their Red Bull gear and whatever, but they don't go and buy Holden cars. Well, I went out and bought a VF Series 2 SS Redline, sat in the garage, love the car. It's now 4 years old and I plan on hanging on to it for at least another 12 months. And I know a lot of people are in the same boat. In our fleet at work, we have another 2 people with VF Commodores, and both of them, they're actually Series 1, so they've even held on to theirs for longer. All 3 of us are in the same boat as what do we buy next? And none of us have even considered a ZB Commodore. We're all looking at something else. So, and it's not so much that, you know, the fans don't go and buy Commodores. Traditionally, I think more the motorsport has, you know, been buying like the second-hand ones, which has been great for Holden because people are more inclined to go and buy the new car if, you know, they hold their values and you can sell them for a good price second-hand. But I think the issue's been, say, with the ZB, people aren't looking at that as a proper Commodore to go and replace their VF Commodores with, but also the fact that because you've had the ZB there hasn't been that incentive to change it over. Like even, I know another guy who had his for 4 years, only just changed it over. He's gone to an SUV, 7-seat thing because of family commitments. And I know another mate who was going to go, he's got an SS wagon, and he was going to go and buy a new car because of the age of the Commodore, and just basically went, well, I can't really, you know, for everything that it does, I can't, you know, buy anything to replace it. So he's going to hang on to his his VF Commodore for even longer. TV was making some strange noises there, I thought. So I think that's more the issue, that it's not so much that, you know, the fans haven't been going and buying. It's more that they've probably been hanging, you know, the ones who have gone and bought them have been hanging on to them for longer, and, you know, there isn't something there in Commodore land to replace it. Nobody wants a ZB. Simple as that. So anyway, this is one of those stories that we're probably going to find out more and more over the coming weeks. Hopefully this might bring Gen 3 rules earlier a bit, and, you know, we can maybe entice some other manufacturers or even some other body shells or something like that just to spice it up, because I know the Ford guys might love it, but it might be a bit boring next year if the whole field is just in a Mustang. There was actually a test day yesterday, so we actually got to see some cars out on track for the first time this year. Will Davison, the Tickford team leader, because technically he's in a satellite car, and everyone's saying Cam Waters is the team leader, but if I was looking for a leader in that team, you know, I wouldn't go too far past Will. I think you might find by the end of the year, you might put the other guys to shame. Jaime was second in the Kelly Mustang. Anton De Pasquale, the fastest Holden, in third. What does this mean? Well, pretty much nothing. So we'll start practice tomorrow in Adelaide, and, you know, Scotty and Jamie and Shane Van Gisbergen will fill out the top 3, and they'll go on and dominate the race just like we expected. A lot of talk of people, you know, using different, well, people not doing full laps, but I think it was probably more that people using different timing sectors to the actual start-finish line to do their laps. So there's probably a bit of funny business going on out there with a few of the top guys where they weren't on the official timing. They didn't look good, but if you broke down their sectors, you're probably like, yeah, they're quicker than Davison. So that was a test. just good to see the cars out and about. And one of my favourite cars for the year. I did have a bit of a go at that when the release photos, but actually seeing it go around on the track, absolutely stunning. I'll have a bit more of a report after the racing on the weekend when we get to see the cars properly, but that actually, I reckon that looks really good and really fast in the photo. Speaking of liveries, we got to see Todd Hazelwood's Plus Fitness car. What happened to Freightliner Alliance truck parts? There's a tiny little Freightliner there, but that's it. So something happened. I thought this deal was announced that Hazelwood was essentially stepping into the Slade car. Plus Fitness all over it. So the first thing when I saw this car was, it looks like the old LDM shit that Russell Ingall drove back in, I think it was 2013 or so. Actually seeing some footage of it on track, doesn't look too bad in these photos. I was quite disappointed, but having said that, seeing it on track, not too bad. Yeah, we'll see if it's like the rest of, maybe like the Percat car, might see a few different sponsors on it during the year as well. Could be a bit of a rolling thing going to happen there. And the final new livery that we got to see for the year, the Truck Assist Lee Holdsworth Mustang. I'm actually slightly disappointed in this because the Monster one looks so good with the flat black, and this has, got the orange in that, like the Scandia one that Thomas Randall ran last year. I'm not sure if once again it's, the studio photos are not doing it justice. We've got another angle here, yeah. So, I don't know, in that lighting, like, I haven't seen it on track yet, so not 100% sure. You think matte black on a Mustang is going to look stunning. For some reason, this one doesn't work, whereas I think the Monster one looks spectacular. We'll see on the weekend whether it appears to be better or not. And who knows whether this is the final livery or not, but we saw Chris Pither in a similarly painted Coke Commodore to the one James Courtney's got. Chris Pither's been announced as a driver for that. Surprise, surprise. And not surprisingly, they were third last and second last in the test, with only Bryce Forward in the Walkinshaw, the old Walkinshaw car, being slower. So it looks like Techno hasn't had any upgrades, and we're going to see them down the back for at least the foreseeable future. Funnily enough, Jono Webb did come out and say that they expected, we can, challenge Triple Eight and Penske. Well, just shut up before, what is it? Walk before you run kind of thing. Like, yeah, so good luck with that one, Jono. And co-driver announcements are in full swing. So the big surprise here, Thomas Randall is with Nick Percat. What the fuck, Tickford? Like, this guy, I think you should have signed Randall and given Lee Holdsworth a flick for this year. Not bagging Lee Holdsworth as a driver. He's a good driver, but he's never going to win a championship. This guy might. So why not get him in there and have a crack? Now he's off driving with Matt White in the Super 2 series, and he's with Brad Jones racing for the Enduros. Like, what? Sorry, Tickford, you've lost me there a bit. Having said that, though, Tickford has signed Alex Premer, James Moffat, and Michael Caruso to drive their three cars. We already had Jack Perkins confirmed in the Will Davison car. I think possibly going by the race suits that they were in yesterday at the test. I think we're going to see Caruso with Waters again, and according to Caruso, he's made mention about, his teammate in the monster car and all that. Probably going to see Moffat and LeBrock together. the Supercheap partnership again, and Prema and Holdsworth. So they're making a big deal that they signed Prema as the reigning Bathurst champion. You know, opportunities like this don't come up all the time, except for when Steve Richards jumped ship. But, you know, that was mainly Scotty's win. Prema did a good job, but I can see why Penske wanted to sign Slade over Prema. So I think being out of that Penske car, and in a more, not a bad car, but, you know, a little bit slower car. I don't think, you know, if we still had those Sandown co-driver races, I don't think you'd be troubling the front of the field too much. And finally, in co-driver land, Walkinshaw Andretti has announced their 2 co-drivers. No surprise, Warren Luff, but with Chaz Mostert. I would have moved heaven and earth to try and get James Moffat, but anyway, that's just me. I don't rate Warren Luff that highly. He seems to surprise me at Bathurst every year, but other than that, he's just, don't know. And the Kurt Kostecki with Bryce Fullwood. So all the Kostekis have got a driver or a co-drive. Well, they're all kind of co-driving because of that super light thing going on at Matt Stone Racing. But all the Kostekis will have a drive in the Enduros, which is great. Means that we're not going to see them as a wild card though, I quite enjoyed that over the endurance races last year. Those guys doing the wild card, it brought a bit of that, you know, fun back where, you know, some people got together, built a car or whatever, and rocked up and had a crack at the race. So we won't see that this year, but it's great to see some of the young Super 2 drivers come up. And interestingly enough, I've read and heard a few people complaining like, oh, I'm surprised that we haven't got any GT3 drivers from the 12-hour sign for... So at the moment, Prema's the only international, say. I think the key thing is about if you sign an international, say like Prema, as opposed to, say, signing Thomas Randall, right? So for the test day, well, for starters, you go to someone like Thomas Randall and go, hey, do you want to have a drive at Bathurst? And they, yes, kind of thing. I will. How much money do you want? I just want to drive, kind of thing. Whereas if you get on the phone to some overseas guy, I was going to say Bern Snyder, but I'm sure he's retired now. Anyway, you get on, say even Alex Prema, you get on the phone, do you want to drive Bathurst? Yeah, I want, 50 grand or whatever for it. Oh, okay. Can you come out and do the test day? Yep. You buy me a plane ticket? Yeah, all right. Accommodation for, a week or whatever that I'm here for, kind of thing. Whereas Thomas Randall, you probably have to buy him accommodation for the one night in Adelaide, kind of thing. Pay for the plane ticket home? Yep. While I'm here, I need my meals and accommodation and everything paid for? Oh, yeah. So we're not only paying you to race, we've got to pay, flights backward and forward multiple times a year. We've got to pay for more accommodation, things like that. It starts to, probably getting an international, as opposed to signing, like say, obviously Tanner and Lowndes are on top money for that kind of drive. You sign like a Caruso or a Golding or someone like that, they're probably on medium money. Probably find that it's going to cost you a similar amount to get a Prema as what it would to get a Caruso. And Prema won Bathurst last year, but in my eyes, I would sign a Caruso every day of the week before I signed a Prema. And he's a guy who's, he's raced in the category and that, he's pretty good at it. You get one of these GT3 guys from the Bathurst 12 hour, they're going to be, they're going to start the weekend second. They're going to do the same job that Hinch and Rossi did at Bathurst last year. As simple as that. That's what you're going to expect. They're going to be, basically, they're only going to out-qualify Jack LeBrock in a techno car, kind of thing. That, plain and simple, that's it. So that's the end of the rant about the overseas drivers. So the whole intention of this video was to do an Adelaide preview. And I've gone on for plenty long enough. So essentially we all know how the Superloop works. It's not the Clipsal anymore. There'll be practice on Thursday, Friday, 250k race on Saturday, 250k race on Sunday. We get top 10 shootout in there. Yeah, that's it. Triple Eight and Scott McLaughlin are going to be the ones to beat. Fingers crossed, some guys like, Rick and Jaime will be up the front. The Penrite boys, let's just hope it's not a 2-horse race between Triple Eight and McLaughlin. Notice I'm not mentioning, Fabian Lamb, the sacrificial one. But, yeah, Coulthard's not going to trouble the championship this year, plain and simple. So I did put a cheeky dollar on someone for the championship. I won't say who it was. The odds were 34-1, so if it comes up, I'm going to be in sweet, sweet money. I will nearly be able to afford another bottle of Fireball from the $34 of winnings. So, and the final thing this week, I haven't got a photo of it, unfortunately. Jack Smith's got himself a haircut. If any of you remember him last year, the haircut was terrible, like just totally flat hair, like well down past his shoulders, and that made him look a little bit feminine. He's got the buzz cut. It's just all shaved off. So, slick new haircut to get into the main game. Might shave off a couple of tenths. So, after the weekend, I'll do a review of the racing. Hopefully we know a bit more what's happening with the Holden saga. I don't think we will after this weekend. I think it's going to be a little bit before all that gets sorted out. But until then, I'll see you later. Inhibitions, let the beast in you just get loose. We all young, wild and different. We can all get lit from a little goose. I know you're terrified by what